aliens disclosure. UFO 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 aliens disclosure. Let's go.
All right, so you guys really want to dive deep into Skinwalker Ranch, huh? Buckle up, because we're headed to 512 acres in northeastern Utah.
A place that's been a paranormal puzzle for a long time.
Decades, yeah. And this isn't just your run-of-the-mill haunted house stuff either.
No, not at all.
We're talking UFO sightings,
Animal mutilations.
creatures in the shadows.
Oh yeah, it's every weird thing you can think of all mashed together in one spot.
Seriously. And it's not just the variety, it's how intense these reports get. Like, imagine wolf-like creatures that just shrug off bullets.
Lights doing crazy things in the sky.
Objects just poof, gone, like thin air. Makes you wonder, right? Is this land just like a magnet for the bizarre?
The real mind bender is there a scientific explanation for all this? Or is it something we just can't even grasp? That's our mission today, to sort through the legends and see what makes sense.
And to get this place, we got to start with the legend behind its name, the Skinwalker. This goes deep into Navajo, or Dine folklore.
Yeah, and it's not something to mess around with.
Not at all.
The Navajo term is Yinelblushi, which means with it, he goes on all fours. But it's not just shape-shifting, it's more like a witch, someone who's taken this sacred ability to transform into animals, usually predators, and twisted it.
So we're talking wolves, coyotes.
Exactly.
Not exactly the friendly werewolf next door then.
Nope, far more sinister.
Wow. And even talking about skinwalkers is a big no-no in Navajo culture.
Oh yeah, huge taboo. It's believed that even saying their name can attract their attention.
Yikes, no thanks.
And nobody wants that.
So you've got this massive cultural weight, centuries of fear, all tied into this legend.
Definitely.
Which makes the stories from Skinwalker Ranch even creepier, right? It's like, this isn't just a spooky story, it's ancient beliefs crashing into modern weirdness.
And that feeling of colliding just ramps up when you realize the ranch, also known as Sherman Ranch.
Wait, a different name. That already adds to the whole mystery thing.
Right.
Why the name change?
Well, it's not a name change exactly, more like layers of history. See, way before the Shermans showed up in 1994, indigenous tribes already thought this land was cursed, like a place to avoid at all costs.
Oh, wow.
So the Shermans weren't walking into some, untouched wilderness, you know? There's already this feeling of, something's not right here, clinging to the place.
And from what I've heard, they got a whole lot more than just a bad feeling.
Oh, yeah.
We're talking those massive wolf-like creatures that could take bullets and just keep going.
The lights acting all kinds of crazy.
And then there's the whole cattle mutilation thing, which is just disturbing.
The Sherman family stories are super important because they took the whole Skinwalker legend and threw it right into reality.
Totally.
Suddenly you have regular folks reporting these crazy encounters.
Right.
And that's what made Skinwalker Ranch famous, brought in everyone from the paranormal fans to the serious scientists.
And that leads us to 1996, when billionaire Robert Bigelow buys the ranch. But he doesn't turn it into some, billionaire's retreat, does he?
Nope.
He starts the National Institute for Discovery Science, or NIDS. These guys weren't just ghost hunters.
No way.
NIDS had actual scientists and investigators, all with high-tech gear, monitoring the property 24/7.
Yeah, their whole approach was methodical, all about the data.
That's pretty cool, actually.
They used stuff like magnetometers to track electromagnetic fluctuations, infrared cameras to see heat signatures, anything to try and document these bizarre events and analyze them.
Sounds straight out of sci-fi.
I know, right? Scientists with all this fancy equipment focused on proving the paranormal.
But did they actually figure anything out? With
Yeah.
all that tech and brain power.
That's where things get really interesting. NIDS collected a ton of data, documented stuff that just didn't make sense.
Right,
But
yeah.
even after years of looking into it, that couldn't give a definite answer.
Which honestly just makes it even more intriguing, right? The more we try to explain it,
Yeah.
the deeper the mystery gets.
Exactly. And that lack of a clear answer is what leads to all the theories. Some are pretty out there, others are more down-to-earth explanations, but that's where we're going to pick things up next.
At UFO Deep Dive, we don't just scratch the surface, we dive deep. Each episode brings you closer to the truth about aliens, conspiracies, and cosmic mysteries. Listen now on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
Tired of the ordinary? Step into the extraordinary with UFO Deep Dive. From alien encounters to hidden histories, we take you beyond the surface. Available now on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Join us and explore the unknown.
Are UFOs real? Are governments hiding alien technology? Dive deep into the mysteries with UFO Deep Dive, where we tackle the most intriguing questions each week. Catch us on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. The truth is just a listen away.
Okay, you ready to dig into the theories about what's happening at Skinwalker Ranch?
I am, are you?
Hit me with them. Let's hear what people think is behind all this weirdness.
Okay, here we go. So let's break down some of the main theories around Skinwalker Ranch.
Okay.
They kind of fall into three groups, each with, their good points and bad points.
Right.
First up, we got the idea of interdimensional portals.
Interdimensional portals, huh? Sounds pretty sci-fi to me.
Yeah.
What are we talking about here exactly?
Okay, so think of our reality like a sheet, like a piece of fabric, right?
Okay, I'm with you.
And picture little rips or tears in that fabric. Those are like interdimensional portals.
Gotcha.
And some people believe those portals let things through from other dimensions into our world.
Whoa, like a doorway between realities.
Exactly.
Okay, so I can kind of see how that could explain, like, all the crazy stuff at Skinwalker Ranch.
Right.
The creatures, the UFOs, all that. But is there any actual proof these portals exist?
That's the thing.
Yeah.
It's a cool idea, but there's no real science behind it, at least not yet. It's more of a what if kind of thing.
Right.
Just trying to connect the dots,
Yeah, okay, so if portals are a bit of a stretch, what's the next theory?
Well, this one might not surprise you. It's the UFO theory.
Ah, the aliens.
With all those reports of strange lights and objects in the sky around Skinwalker Ranch, it makes sense. Some people think it's a UFO hotspot.
Yeah, I mean, it's classic, right? Aliens, government conspiracies,
Totally.
life on other planets, the whole 9 yards.
It taps into all that.
But do we have any solid evidence for this one either?
Just like the portal thing, proof of aliens at Skinwalker Ranch is still missing.
Okay.
It's fun to think about aliens visiting this remote spot, but we need more than just people saying they saw something in blurry photos.
Right, we need some hard proof.
Exactly.
So we've got portals, aliens, both pretty out there explanations.
Yeah.
Is there like a more grounded theory, something a little less sci-fi?
There is. The third category comes from the skeptics.
The skeptics
They say it's all psychological,
Correct.
fine with, people misinterpreting what they see.
So you're saying people's minds are playing tricks on them?
It's possible.
Like the isolation, the darkness, all the Skinwalker legends, it messes with their heads.
Yeah, imagine you're out there at night on this huge empty ranch. It's pitch black.
Creepy.
You're already kind of jumpy, and then you see something move in the shadows.
That's a freak out.
And your brain, because of all those stories, instantly goes, Skinwalker.
Right.
Even if it's just like a coyote or something.
Okay, yeah, I see that. Fear and imagination, they're powerful, especially in a place like Skinwalker Ranch.
Definitely.
But what about the physical stuff?
Yeah.
The cattle mutilations, the weird symbols, even the scientific readings that are just, like, unexplainable.
That's where it gets tricky.
Yeah.
I mean, weird things definitely happen at Skinwalker Ranch. Nobody's denying that.
But to say it's paranormal, you got to be really careful.
Right.
Rule everything else out first.
Like, could there be a natural explanation we're missing?
Exactly.
Are there things in the environment that could, like, mimic paranormal activity?
It's possible. It's like being a detective,
Right.
You got to look at all the suspects, all the possible explanations before you jump to the craziest one.
Right.
So we start with the environment, the psychology, anything natural before we go to the paranormal.
I get it. But honestly, a part of me, maybe a big part, wants to believe in the extraordinary, We love a good mystery. Possibility is something we can't explain.
It's exciting, isn't it?
And Skinwalker Ranch isn't just any spooky place either.
No, not at all.
It's got those Native American legends woven into its history, which just adds another layer.
Absolutely.
It's not just some random haunted house. It's tied to a whole belief system that says, hey, these powerful, maybe dangerous beings, they exist.
And that Navajo perspective is important.
They remind us that different cultures have different ways of looking at the world, of explaining things we don't understand.
That's true.
Their beliefs, passed down for generations, add this whole cultural and spiritual dimension we can't ignore.
So how do we balance all of that? The scientific need for proof versus these cultural beliefs based on tradition and spirituality.
They don't have to be opposites.
Okay.
I think the best way to understand Skinwalker Ranch is to use both science and culture.
That makes sense.
We can be scientific, look for evidence, investigate, but also respect the history and beliefs that shape how we see this place.
It's not about picking a side, it's about seeing the whole puzzle, recognizing that maybe there isn't one answer, one explanation for Skinwalker Ranch.
Exactly, and sometimes the best thing is to just admit we don't know everything.
Right.
Embrace the mystery, be open to anything.
I like that.
But let's change gears for a second.
Okay.
We've given you a lot of info about Skinwalker Ranch, the legends, the theories, the investigations.
It's been a lot.
But now it's your turn. What do you think? What parts of this mystery make you curious?
Good question.
Do you go for the scientific explanations, the cultural stuff, or maybe something totally different?
I don't know yet. I'm still processing.
It's all about exploring, you know? Thinking about the unknown in a way that's both, like, smart and personal.
I dig it.
There are no right or wrong answers here.
That's good to hear.
Because at the end of the day, the coolest thing about Skinwalker Ranch might not be finding the answers, but the journey itself.
Okay.
Asking questions, challenging what we think we know, and maybe realizing that what's possible is way bigger than we thought.
I'm into that.
And to help you on that journey, we want to leave you with one last thing to think about.
Ooh, a cliffhanger. I'm ready. Hit me with it.
What if, like, Skinwalker Ranch being this, you know, hub of weird stuff,
Yeah?
what if us trying to figure it out actually changes the mystery itself?
Whoa, hold on. That's a trippy thought.
Right.
You're talking about that observer effect thing, aren't you?
Yeah.
Like in quantum mechanics,
Yeah.
where just looking at something can change it.
Exactly. It makes you wonder, you know? If that applies to Skinwalker Ranch, could all our poving around trying to measure and define it,
Yeah.
could that be shaping the very thing we're trying to explain?
So it's like we're not just watching the weirdness happen, we're part of the experiment,
Yeah.
whether we want to be or not.
It's wild, right? And it brings us back to why critical thinking is so important.
Absolutely.
Because if just being there, being aware, can affect the phenomena, then we got to be super careful about how we handle the evidence,
Right.
how we interpret what we're seeing and hearing.
It's not just about sorting fact from fiction anymore. It's about knowing that we might be influencing the whole story without even realizing it.
Yeah,
Are we really after the truth, or are we just like projecting our own beliefs onto the unknown?
that's the challenge, not just with Skinwalker Ranch, but with anything we don't understand. We
True.
got to recognize our own biases, you know, our
Yeah.
limits as observers.
But even with those limits, there's something kind of awesome about the idea that the answers might not be out there waiting for us.
Yeah, right.
What if they come from like the interaction between us and the mysteries we're trying to solve?
That's what makes this so fascinating.
You know, right? It's like we're not just exploring Skinwalker Ranch, we're exploring our own minds too.
Exactly. And that might be the biggest takeaway from our deep dive here. It's not about finding absolute proof or debunking everything.
Okay.
It's about being cool with the not knowing, the uncertainty, and understanding that the really big discoveries,
Yeah.
they often happen in that space between what we know and what we don't.
So, to everyone listening, as you keep digging into Skinwalker Ranch on your own, keep those questions in mind. Be curious, be skeptical, but most importantly, be open to the possibility that the truth might be way more complex, way more subtle, and way more connected to us than we thought.
Who knows? Maybe by wrestling with these mysteries, by asking these tough questions, we're not just figuring out Skinwalker Ranch, but we're also unlocking something inside ourselves.
That's a great way to put it.
And on that note, we're wrapping up our deep dive into Skinwalker Ranch. Hope you enjoyed the ride.
Until next time, folks, keep exploring, keep questioning, and never lose that sense of wonder.
UFO aliens disclosure. UFO aliens disclosure. UFO aliens disclosure. UFO aliens disclosure. Let's go.